Brexit, the buzzword on people's minds for the last 2 years. Those who wish to leave or those who wish to remain, whichever camp you're in, you're stuck in the same uncertain situation as you were since the vote's been called. And from all of this uncertainty, we've seen such political turmoil, which has been pretty much unprecedented in UK politics. There's no real guidance or no real template for how one should play out such a withdrawal with the EU. And it's really, people's patience is really being tested here. Theresa May standing strong. She recently won a vote of no confidence, and from then has put across a Brexit vote that will be voted for on Tuesday. Now, what we will do with this flowchart behind me, we will try and decipher the flow as to what will happen given certain scenarios. Now, the Brexit vote's on Tuesday, and as you can remember from last year, Theresa May lost that vote with a margin of 230 votes. She's getting a lot of pressure from the backbenchers, and that is pretty clear, especially within her own party, which is putting a lot of pressure on her to leave, or perhaps for a general election to be called, which we will address as certain scenarios later on. So Theresa May's vote, and that is on Tuesday for Brexit. Now, if we get a yes to that, if people support it, which is in practice unlikely, we will action Theresa May's Brexit deal, which was recently negotiated with the EU. If we get a no, which is likely to be the expectation, we'll get a slightly modified version of the withdrawal agreement that she has negotiated with the EU, which was voted down similar as mentioned before last year. So assuming this Brexit deal fails, May is expected to call a vote of to rule out the no-deal Brexit. And at this stage where MPs will have the opportunity to rule out the no-deal Brexit or not. So if they do not rule it out, we will therefore go for a no-deal Brexit, and Parliament will have to accept that again in another vote. 2 no's there, we go back to another vote. However, if we do rule out a no-deal Brexit, Theresa May then has a huge task on her hand of therefore delaying the Brexit vote again, which will further delay the proceedings that we faced over the last months to years now coming into it. If we get a delay, if we do not get a delay, then there is a possibility that Theresa May could be gone. 3 no's, the view is Theresa May's parliamentary head, being the PM, is in doubt. And it's possibly likely that 3 no's could see her out. So do keep in mind that when you're kind of deciphering this complexity of situation. However, if we get a delay, we kind of end up in a cycle again. Theresa May will then be forced to go to the EU, hat in hand really, and ask their permission for a delay at the upcoming summit in about a week. Now, a lot of critics say that she is giving up a lot of her leverage that she still had, if any, and we're pretty much will be in the exact place as we are now. So this situation could happen in a month's time with her going back there, or perhaps sooner. Now, if the EU do grant a delay, we could get 2 forms of delay. One being a short delay, one being a long delay. Now, if we get a short delay, that will give MPs a chance to kind of gather around together and try and unite under some sort of soft Brexit. That would be the pro-Remainers ministers really suggesting some sort of customs union and a free movement of people. So customs union, free movement of people, and also passporting licenses for financial services industries. Those 3 things are key on the agenda for the pro-Remainers. So if we do get a short delay, we're going to need MPs to unify. However, once they do come up with some sort of renegotiation, we will have to go right the way back to the start. If Theresa May is still in power, she'll need to put the deal through again this process. And given a short delay, that would be the likely scenario. Now, the long delay, I'll just skip over to this side of the board. The long delay, which is also a very likely outcome, could lead to a total rethink of the entire Brexit deal. We've listed 4 possible scenarios here. The first one being a commonly referred to second referendum. The second referendum, as recently put forward as in favour by Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour Party. Let's vote again on the Brexit vote. We've seen what damage it's caused, what uncertainties it's caused. Let's vote again. Let's see where people stand. If we do get a second referendum, the likelihood is that Britain will remain in the European Union, and we could be back to a more stable economic environment. Secondly, general election. Now, a general election is also likely, and remember, a general election remains possible at any time during this process. Thirdly, a soft Brexit. So as discussed with the short delay, a softer Brexit really involves ministers uniting, coming together, trying to combine elements of the no-deal Brexit or a harder Brexit, as well as the softer Brexit to include things like Ireland as well as the movement of people and economic trade treaties, etc. Now, the fourth option is the hard no-deal Brexit option, where we just go for it, break ties with the EU, suffer the consequences, and return to some way of normal in X amount of time. Now, as you may have seen from the currency markets, the pound has been very volatile against the dollar since Brexit's been announced. Now, you may have seen this chart a lot, but ever since the vote, we did get a drop or a depreciation in the pound of about 10%. However, we have recently come back to make up about 50% of that move. Although we do sit at a very volatile price level, you would say around the 130 mark, and any of these scenarios could spur the pound in a direction either to the upside or the downside, depending on the strength of the US dollar, which as of late has been very strong. So the sensitivity to the downside is a lot higher. However, what we feel, the second referendum could be a good scenario, therefore boosting the pound. The general election also could be a good scenario depending on how it's been put forward. A softer Brexit also could be a good scenario depending on how it's interpreted. A no-deal Brexit, however, could be a bad scenario for the pound. So keep in mind these different solutions that we could be faced with given May's deal is ruled out, there is a delay, the EU decision has been granted for the delay, and there is a longer delay than expected. Any of these four functions could come into play. So I hope this video has helped you in understanding what the Brexit vote entails, how it could possibly affect our currency markets and the domestic economy. And for any questions, please do let us know. Click the subscribe button, like our video, comment, we appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed the video.